Great. Hi. So this is our first Friday follow-up, and it's for everybody that came along to Heather's fantastic Third Sector Cafe on branding that we had earlier. When did we have it? When was it? Was it in December?
It was
mid-December.
Yeah.
Last year. So we're just going to chat through some questions that people asked during that session and as a follow-up, and share those with the people that came. And I'm going to start off, Heather, just by getting you to recap who you are and a little bit about your business.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name's Heather. I've been working in brand and communications and design for 20 years now. So I've worked on the client side in the civil service. And I've worked on the agency side for the last 15 years in larger agencies doing copywriting and brand planning, and I'm now a freelance brand planner. So what I do is I go into businesses or organisations when they are ready to brand or rebrand, and I work out what it is that they want to tell the world about themselves, which is ultimately where the branding process begins. And it allows me to immerse myself in experiences of that organisation and their offering from all different angles. So working with charities, for example, I'll speak to commissioners, partners, service users to get a real feel of the value inside that organisation. That's then something that I have to translate into branding. So everything from how people speak, what their key messages are, what their values are, how they behave, that brand, through to the visual side of things, how visually they communicate that that is what they stand for.
That's great. And I find branding really, I've always found it quite an impenetrable thing to understand. But after your cafe, I did feel a lot clearer. And the Scotch eggs thing, which everybody that was there will remember, I'm sure, did actually really work for me. But anyway, so Laura's the third person here. And Laura, some people that came along to the December cafe might not know you, Laura.
No.
Would you just like to introduce yourself so they know who you are?
So I'm Laura. Hello, everybody. And I set up the cafe with Sophie, but in June last year I moved over to the States, which is why I was not at the cafe. It's a little bit far to go for a morning. And so I'm virtually around. Virtual commitment, which doesn't sound so good. But I do lots of the tweeting, I send lots of the emails. I'm behind the scenes all the time, but you won't have seen me there.
But you weren't in the cafe, so Scotch eggs may be a bit of a mystery.
Yeah, I saw pictures. And lots of people tweeting saying, Scotch eggs, yeah. Okay.
So we were just going to recap. I mean, you talked a little bit about what you think branding is just there in your intro, didn't you, Heather? Was there anything else you wanted to say about your understanding of branding before we move on from this bit?
I think in terms of answering those questions, it's perhaps important that we remind ourselves that branding or brand is not the visual. Branding is a word that we use to describe the visual. So when we talk about branding on a budget and things like that, we're not talking about the creation of a logo. We're talking about the deeper meaning that sits behind that logo. So yes, I think that's the important thing. If nothing else, I think we go into this remembering David Hyatt's words, and he's someone that I quoted in the workshop, who describes brand like this. So I will just read this because it's an important kind of foundation. He says, some people think that once they have a name and a logo, they have a brand. What they have at that point is a name and a logo. The job of a brand is to make that name and logo stand for something, to live its founding principles every day, to stay true. I think of a brand as a consistent promise. What is your promise? That is your brand. And if we go into this thinking that, we'll understand the context of these answers much better.
Yeah, the promise thing also really made it a lot clearer. Yeah. The fact that we could all, when you showed those examples in the session, we could guess what the promise was, or we knew that we've learned the promises associated with the visuals for the big successful.
Yes, exactly.
And I guess it's that thing of what difference does the promise make? That's the bit, isn't it? It's, how is it not just a fluffy?
Yes, exactly. And it has to be true. I think that's the thing. That's the other thing that was really at the heart of the workshop content, that the promise that you make through your brand has got to be a truth. So it has to come from the truth, and it has to be something that you can evidence in your behaviour and what you say, do, and everything that you appear to be from that day forth, forevermore. Otherwise it implodes on itself, or it doesn't have value, or people very quickly learn to not trust what you're promising.
Yeah.
So at this point, we were just going to take a look at an interesting example of branding working well that Laura was going to suggest.
Yeah. So if I just share my screen with you.
We have the technology.
Yeah.
We have practiced this.
We have. So we were just going to look briefly at Henderson's Relish, which is, as you know, a really famous Sheffield brand. And Heather was just going to talk us through kind of the clever stuff they do that perhaps changes your view of just being a logo.
I mean, it's really stood out as such a clever company in Sheffield, hasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, and I think, you know, this is especially pertinent when we come to one of our later questions, which is about sub-branding. And the important thing is that you never dilute the core brand. What Henderson's have done very cleverly is they've accepted invitations to recreate the Henderson's brand. So there you will find your core Henderson's Relish, which you can see there. It's the orange one, and it's been in existence for over 100 years, and it's a product that's been well known in Sheffield, but it hasn't really travelled beyond our 7 hills. It's starting to gain ground as a product now because Henderson's hasn't held tightly onto their brand. They've allowed the creation of Sheffield United and Sheffield Wednesday versions, which you can see there on the screen.
It's very clever to do both.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you can't go upsetting half the city, can you? Either half of the city. They have commissioned artists to create versions. They have created Henderson's bottles to commemorate the Tour de France, which came through Sheffield, Tramlines Festival, which is a real kind of part of the calendar for everyone in the city now. So there's and what that does is several things. It not only introduces Henderson's as a product to a range of new audiences, because the people who are interested in tramlines are generally not interested in Henderson's Relish, but it also aligns them with brands that have a certain other value that they will never be able to tap into themselves. And that's just, Henderson's Relish is a very small working example of it, but it's a model that works well and managed cleverly. A lack of control can really be a great thing to have. If you're willing and able to take your hands off your brand and let other people play with it and add value to it and credibility and kudos, that's a great thing.
Yep.
So very brave of them, but it's really made it very lively and interesting and really Sheffield, and we've all enjoying it.